Quick, look at this number. In your head, right now, round it to the nearest dollar. If your brain whispered 10-something for even a fraction of a second before correcting itself to 20, congratulations. You just fell for the oldest trick in the history of retail. We walk through life thinking we are smart, rational spenders. We think we know math. But why is it that a $4 coffee feels expensive, but a $3.99 coffee feels like a deal? It is just 1 penny, 1 copper coin that you wouldn't even pick up off the street. But that 1 penny is part of a psychological war being waged against your wallet every single day. And the scary part? It wasn't even invented to trick you. It was invented to stop thieves, and we just accidentally discovered it broke the human brain. My name is Lacy, and I spend way too much time thinking about the invisible traps that keep us broke. If you are someone who walks into a store for milk and walks out with $50 of stuff you didn't plan to buy, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Today, we aren't just talking about budgeting. We are going to deconstruct the left-digit effect, the psychological glitch that makes you terrible at math, and how a saloon owner in the 1800s accidentally changed the global economy forever. Here's the thing. You think you read numbers like a computer. You think you see the whole price at once, but you don't. You read prices the same way you read a book, from left to right. Your brain is incredibly efficient. It is also incredibly lazy. It wants to encode information as fast as possible. When you see $4.99, your brain processes that first digit, the 4, before you even finish looking at the cents. Psychologists call this the left-digit bias. Your brain latches onto the 4 and categorizes the price in the $4 range. By the time your eyes get to the 99, the decision has already been made. Now, you might be thinking, Lacy, come on, I'm not stupid. I know $2.99 is basically $3. And sure, consciously you know that, but subconsciously? Researchers at the University of Chicago and MIT did a massive study on this. They took a standard piece of clothing and sold it at 3 different prices: $34, $39, and $44. Logic says the cheapest one, the $34 one, should sell the best, right? Wrong. The item priced at $39 outsold the $34 item. Let me repeat that. People bought more of the exact same shirt when the price was higher just because it ended in a 9. This is madness, but it's human nature. The number 9 signals value. It signals discount. It bypasses your logic and hits your lizard brain right in the dopamine receptors. But here's what most people don't realize. This didn't start as a psychological trick. It started because bartenders were stealing money. Meet James Ritty. He owned a saloon in Dayton, Ohio in the 1870s. James had a problem. His saloon was packed every night. Whiskey was flowing, customers were paying, but at the end of the month, James was broke. His employees were pocketing the cash. Back then, there were no receipts. You just handed the bartender $1 and he threw it in a box or in his pocket. James Ritty got so stressed about this that he had a nervous breakdown and went on a steamboat trip to Europe to calm down. While he was on the ship, he watched the propeller mechanism count the rotations of the engine. Click, click, click. He thought, what if I built a machine that counts money like that propeller counts rotations? He went home and invented Ritty's incorruptible cashier, the world's first mechanical cash register. But here's the genius part. The machine had a bell, ding, and to open the drawer, you had to ring up a sale. But if everything costs a nice round $1, the bartender can just take the dollar and never open the drawer. He never has to ring it up. So store owners started changing prices. Instead of $1, they made it 99 cents. Why? Because now the customer hands you a dollar bill. You have to give them 1 cent in change. To get that penny, you have to open the drawer. The bell rings. The sale is recorded. The owner knows the money is safe. The .99 wasn't marketing. It was security. It was a theft prevention device that just happened to accidentally rewire the entire global economy. Now, I want to talk about the one place where this math gets even weirder: the gas station. Have you ever looked closely at a gas pump? I mean really closely. Next to the price, say $3.50, there's a tiny floating fraction, a 9/10. This is the ultimate version of the rounding scam. That 9/10 means you're paying 9/10 of a penny more per gallon. It sounds insignificant. It sounds like dust. But do the math. If you buy 15 gallons of gas, that fraction adds up. Across the entire country, that tiny fraction generates billions of dollars in extra revenue for oil companies every year. And why is it there? It's a relic from the 1930s, when gas was only 10 cents a gallon, and a 1-penny tax was actually a huge price hike. So they added fractions to soften the blow. Today, it's just pure profit. It's a psychological trick to keep the big number, the dollar amount, one digit lower while extracting the maximum possible value from your wallet. It's the left digit effect on steroids. But it isn't just the numbers, it's how they look. This brings us to the visual shrink. Next time you're in a grocery store, look at the price tag on the shelf. Notice the font size. The dollar number is huge. The 99 cents is tiny and often lifted up into the corner. Why? Because your brain equates physical size with numerical size. When the cents are written in a smaller font, your brain perceives the cost as smaller. It literally minimizes the pain of paying. And if you go to a fancy restaurant, you'll see an even bolder trick. They remove the dollar sign completely. You open the menu and the steak just says 40. Not $40, just 40. Cornell University did a study on this. They found that when you remove the currency symbol, guests spend significantly more money. Why? Because the dollar sign is a trigger for pain. It reminds you that you're spending real money. By removing the symbol, they disconnect the number from the concept of cash. It just becomes points in a game. So we know it works, but what happens if a company tries to be honest? What if a company says, you know what, we respect our customers. We aren't going to play mind games. We are just going to give you the round number. Well, that actually happened, and it was one of the biggest disasters in retail history. In 2012, JCPenney hired Ron Johnson. This guy was a legend. He created the Apple Store. He was a visionary. He looked at JCPenney's pricing and said, this is stupid. Why is this shirt marked up to $50 just to be marked down to $19.99? Let's just sell it for $20, fair and square. He banned the number 99. He banned the fake sales. He introduced fair and square pricing. Round numbers, honest prices. Do you know what happened? Customers hated it. Sales collapsed by 40% in 1 year. The stock price tanked. They lost nearly $1 billion. Ron Johnson was fired after 13 months. Why? Because when people saw a shirt for $20, they thought, that's worth $20. But when they saw a shirt marked $50 but on sale for $19.99, they thought, I'm winning. I'm beating the system. This is where it gets really interesting and kind of sad. We say we want honesty, but financially, we want to be seduced. We want the gamification of the deal. The round number felt boring. It felt like we were paying full price, even if it was technically cheaper. Now, there's one major exception to this rule, and if you learn to spot it, you can instantly tell if a brand is trying to sell you value or status. Walk into a Walmart. Look at the prices. $4.97, $9.98, $19.99. The jagged numbers communicate, I'm cheap. I've been calculated down to the lowest possible cent for you. Now look at a luxury brand. Does a Louis Vuitton bag cost $2,499.99? No, it costs $2,500. Does a high-end steakhouse charge $59.99 for a ribeye? No, they write $60. This is prestige pricing. Round numbers process fluently in the brain. They feel calm. They feel complete. They signal, we are confident in this product. We don't need to trick you with pennies. So, here's your rule of thumb. If it ends in 9, they're targeting your rational brain, trying to convince you it's a bargain. If it ends in 0, they're targeting your emotional brain, trying to convince you it's high status. But Lacy, you say, I don't go to JCPenney. I buy everything online. Well, the internet has weaponized this. Look at your subscriptions. Spotify, $9.99. Netflix, $15.49. Amazon Prime, $19.99. In the digital world, the pain of paying is already low because you don't use cash. But by keeping these prices just under the round number barrier, they keep you subscribed. If Netflix raised their price from $19.99 to $20, thousands of people would cancel. Why? Because you cross a mental threshold. $19.99 feels like teens, $20 feels like 20s. It's a different category in your head. And companies know that if they cross that line, you might wake up from your coma and realize you're spending $500 a month on streaming services you don't watch. So, how do we fight this? You can't change the prices, but you can patch the glitch in your brain. I want you to try the round up rule. For the next 7 days, every time you see a price ending in 0.99, I want you to mentally force it to the next dollar. But don't just say 20, say 20 plus tax. If you see a coffee for $4.99, do not say it's $5, say it's $6, because after tax, that's what it is. When you start rounding up instead of letting your brain round down, suddenly things don't look like such a great deal anymore. That 19.99 shirt isn't 10-something, it's basically $25 by the time you leave the store. Don't let a single penny control your financial future. You work too hard for your money to give it away because of a parlor trick from 1879. I'm Lacy. Stay lazy, stay smart, and stop trusting the number 9.